Welcome. There is a game where you get a gun from another reality. Stop an enemy made of red, your gun. Save reality. This is the saga of a game named Control. Fair warning, this is gonna be weirder than usual. Can't be helped, because in this game very little makes sense, and as the story advances it gets even more out of place. But I'm getting ahead of myself. This is the story of Jessie Faden, a woman in search of something. And while she is here by herself, she is in fact not alone. And whoever is with her led her to this place, a building of solid concrete with no windows. A building that harbors the Federal Bureau of Control. Never heard of it? Good, that's the point. And that's why Jessie needed to find it. This isn't just a secret location. It's not a location to begin with. Well, it is, but it isn't. But it is made of secrets, and lies, and the truth. A truth about worlds hiding behind our own, and the things that hide there, and how sometimes they slip into our reality. And Jessie knows the truth, just not all of it. For starters, Jessie finally finds the place but under a full lockdown, so how I even got in is strange, but the fact there's not a single person inside makes it even more alarming. Well, that is until I meet Ati, the janitor, who seems to be unfazed by what's going on and assumes I'm here for a job interview. He points me towards the elevator, and that's all the answers I get. The elevator ride is nothing less than a movie intro plastered with cryptic images and bizarre events, setting the tone for the rest of the game. The doors open, and I head towards the director's office to see if I can get some answers. And that would have been a great idea if it wasn't for the fact the director is now lying dead on the floor, and whoever is in Jessie's head asks to pick up the smoking gun, triggering the job interview led by the board, an entity from another plane of existence, because the gun isn't from this reality, and only the Bureau's director can use it, so if I pass the interview, I'm the new director. Essentially, it's a live or die trial to see if I'm worthy, but it's also the game's combat tutorial, showcasing how the action aspect plays in this game. As I go about jumping and hitting anything that moves, I start noticing how fluid the animations are. But to me, it's the facial expressions that win. Sure, a jump feels like a jump and so on, but the way the characters' expressions were built are just top notch. But back to the action. I have the gun, and now I have to show I can use it. There's no need for ammo because it regenerates, but with only 14 rounds, emptying it means I'll be in trouble. Shooting the rest of the shadow people ends the interview, meaning it's time to head back to reality as the board comes back to congratulate Jessie on being appointed as the new director. When suddenly, the former director manifests to explain there's a threat lurking, and Jessie needs to be the one protecting the Bureau now. Seems like a lot to take in, but Jessie isn't troubled by it. She's actually happy. Well, that is until I meet the threat head on. This red presence starts weaving its way into Jessie's mind, hell-bent on taking it over using the darkness of the human mind. But what that entity didn't account for was that Jessie already had a roommate in her head, and it pushes back the invasion. Time to put my new director powers to use and start cleaning house as I go through the possessed staff that this entity took over. Few hallways in, and the former director shows up again to tell me to reach the hotline, so my next target. But before that, it might be a good idea to look around and see if I can get my hands on some upgrades for my weapon or maybe some other important stuff for later during the game, such as materials to upgrade my abilities or even collectibles that might explain a little bit more about this place and these people. Soon, I reach the central executive sector and find it has been overrun by the Hiss, which is the name that Jessie made up for it. Guess it's time to take the Hiss head on and take down its puppets so we can then clean this place. And why did I say clean? Because the Hiss is an infection, and using the help of my invisible friend, I can restore this place and help taking back the Bureau. With the Hiss pushed back, I've unlocked my first control point, which allows me to fast travel between points and customize Jessie's looks. But more importantly, now that the sector is safe, a hand of survivors of the attack reach Jessie to see what's going on. Out comes Emily Pope, assistant to one of the Bureau's top brass, and one of the first allies I find in here. After a brief introduction, Pope tries to explain what happened, but isn't really giving any real answers. So Jessie is the one explaining how she got into the building, met a janitor, applied for a director's position, and is now seeing the former director's ghost everywhere she goes. It's a bit of a stalemate between the two characters, and Jessie decides to keep to herself that she's here looking for her brother Dylan, as both of them were involved in an event back in their hometown when they were kids, and the Bureau was somehow connected to it. Of course, it's above Emily's pay grade, and I'd need her boss to find out more. The problem is he's missing, and the other person who'd know more would be former Director Trench, who is very much dead. Except that doesn't mean much, as there's the hotline. Similar to our gun, it's another object of power, and this one has the power to reach beyond our reality. Now I know where to go, so I'm back out there to fight the Hiss contaminated who have acquired new powers and pose a bigger challenge. Speaking of challenge, the shooting sometimes feels strange, as in, the animations don't add up and bullets are flying before I take aim. But is it fun? Very much. And in terms of difficulty, the game lured me into a false sense of mastery over it, just so it could hit me with a shootout where I got easily overwhelmed. I died more times than I cared to admit. As I clear out another control point, I find a tape where Casper Darling, Emily's boss, describes another object of power, a disc that allows people to launch objects in the air with your mind. Couple of halls down and we get to see it in action. Bad news though, the disc is under control by the Hiss. Obviously this is a 2-for-1 deal, seeing this disc can help clear the way to the hotline, and I can stop the Hiss from controlling something this powerful. Clear the Crimson Parasite off of it and you get to start another trial to be deemed worthy of the disc's power, meaning, here's a tutorial on how to throw objects in the air and against others. Now, not gonna lie, but this is why anyone should play Control. If an infinite ammo gun was cool, going full superhero is just about as fun as it sounds. And not to repeat myself, but the animations work really well to make things feel more intense. And if that doesn't do it, the visual and sound effects will. With this, I can now combine powers, melee, and shooting to fight the way I want, making battles a little less repetitive. And I'm guessing I'll do a lot of that, as the board ends the trial saying the Hiss is actively hunting for their location. Time is of the essence and so on, but this is where the game stops pulling punches and I got very little moments to catch my breath. For example, some rooms will be high risk, high reward, and I have to mow down a bunch of people to get my hands on a better weapon upgrade. Though to be honest, taking enemies down will help bringing up my stats later on, so I'm okay with that. Same goes for the side missions where I need to hunt for headshots. Eventually I reach the mailroom and get my first boss, Tomasi, former head of communications, now taken over by the Hiss. But that's not all. Evil Tomasi can fly. I thought I was good because I learned how to throw an object, then this guy shows up with double throw powers while flying. Not even mad because of the nice character design. But he's not really tough, which is okay for a first boss, and after a while he bolts and opens the way to the hotline. And boy is this where the game knows crazy. To reach the hotline room floating in the chamber, I need to dream about a hotel, and for that I pull a chain 3 times. Makes sense? Good, not supposed to, but it works and I get my hands on it. Picking up the call starts the trial to own the hotline, which is mostly about dodging paranormal entities and then reaching the board's call. In terms of what it can do, well, it's not the gun or the disc, but it allows to reach a new game menu, and in this case, recently deceased Director Trench. The message is clear. This is a big threat and I need a team. For that, I have to find the other members of the Bureau and rescue them. That's all well and good, but as the call ends, the toll for all that Jesse has been through is starting to show. I go back to Emily and let her know of my success getting the hotline, as well as my chat with Trench and my new mission, and she helps me lay down a plan on how to find the other heads of the Bureau before the Hiss gets to them. While I'm at it, I take some time to ask Emily about some topics, and finally get some answers about, well, a lot actually. It's also a good opportunity to notice how awesome the voice acting is, makes it feel like an actual movie. And to be honest, that's pretty much what Control achieves. An amazing but bizarre story about a mysterious woman forced to help a secret organization connected to her past fight against entities from other realities by shooting and wielding incredible powers. It's one awesome experience of a game with very little flaws, other than how addictive it is because the questions don't stop. How did the Hiss get in? Where is Jesse's brother? Who is the board? What is the entity within Jesse? And how does the janitor fit into all of this? And is he good or evil? Thank you for joining me on the Saga of Control. Had fun? Click that like button to prove it. Did you play this game or would you like to see more of it? Just go to the comments and share your thoughts. There are more sagas on this channel, so go check my other videos and see what you think of them. If this is the type of content you're into and you think I should do more, then subscribe to let me know. And remember, if you got time to spare, check my social media for more stuff. This is goodbye. For now.